Welcome to Dragon Ball Dissection. I have a quick announcement to make that I think you'll all enjoy. Mr. Fusion is primarily a viewer-funded channel. I would not be able to do this without your support, and for all you've done so far, I am very grateful. So here's a chance for me to reward you further for your generosity. It's time for a contest! I just got this lovely art book in the mail, Dragon Ball: A Visual History. This 240-page hardcover book is a compendium of Toriyama Akira's Dragon Ball artwork from 1984 to 2013 and retails for $34.99. It's gorgeous, fun, and informative. Man, it turns out that drawing where Toriyama seemingly walks back the B-U-L-M-A spelling is several years older than I thought. You learn something new every day. I'm rifling through my copy to show you samples, but yours is brand new and sealed. So how do you win this book? Well, there is a link in the description to a Patreon post where you will find a Dragon Ball image from this book. Using that image as the launching point for a hypothetical new Dragon Ball movie, I want you to give it your best, overly long Japanese title. You know what I'm talking about, those two-part exclamation-driven, description-overloaded Clash 10 billion powerful warriors, or The Galaxy at the Brink, the super incredible guy. Yeah, create one of those monstrosities and include it in a comment on that Patreon post, nowhere else. I'll choose my top finalists, and then I'll allow patrons to vote from those to select the winning title. Yes, you do have to be a patron for at least a moment to access this post and enter this contest, but there are support tiers as low as $1, and in addition to supporting the continuation of videos like these, in addition to the Patreon benefits you already receive, you will get a chance at winning this book. Entries are due by 11:59 p.m. May 10th Eastern Standard Time. Sign up now for whatever amount you're comfortable affording at patreon.com/MrFusion. The winner will be announced in the next episode of Dragon Ball Dissection. Best of luck, thank you. Now enjoy the video. Last time we had checked in on Gohan, he had pulled the mystical Z sword out of a slab of rock, and we're supposed to be impressed. Kaioshin certainly is, but Gohan doesn't see the big deal. He stopped using a sword when he was 5. This sword is heavy, but he's not sure how it can beat Buu. Kibito condescends that of course it can't help him as long as he sucks so badly at wielding it. Gohan's all, okay big boy, show me how it's done. Kibito immediately drops it, fails to pick it back up, and tries to look collected before rounding on Gohan and declaring, yeah, but see, it's up to you to get this right. It's really difficult to dissect comedies since what's funny is so subjective, but Toriyama does a fantastic job with this page. Its sight gags, Kibito's never mind then, and his turning it back on Gohan to save face nails it. And Toriyama needs a win considering how messy the last few chapters have been. However much he's getting tangled up in the minutiae of storytelling, he proves that he's a master at telling jokes. Back at the temple, Goku begins the fusion training for the boys. He states that fusion only lasts for half an hour, after which they'll have to wait a while before fusing again, whatever that means. But when Goku orders the boys to transform into Super Saiyans, they instead confront him over what he was doing when Vegeta and Gohan were fighting and dying. When Goku admits he was unconscious, they question how he could possibly teach them anything useful. And I love this. This is great. At the beginning of the tournament, the two boys privately size Goku up and aren't really sure what the big deal about him is. Does the man live up to the legend? Finally, that skepticism finds a seemingly legitimate outlet. Goten and Trunks have fought against Babidi and Majin Buu alongside the adults they know and look up to. Vegeta was there, Piccolo was there, Kuririn was there. But this Goku everyone talks about all the time was taking a nap. It's a new generation, and they find this outdated hype to be lacking. Piccolo is furious at the disrespect, but Goku is unfazed by it. He even agrees with them. He's useless. He could never beat Buu. And he's smart enough to know how to motivate them. Think whatever you want of me. I know you're angry for a lot of reasons. If you want to do something about it, though, I can help you. The chapters we're going to be covering today present Goku as a mentor figure. There's going to be more to say about it as we continue on, but this introduction to the concept is impressive. Goku possesses a palpable maturity here. He demonstrated this side of himself when he trained Gohan in the Room of Spirit and Time, but in that case he didn't have Gohan actively dismissing his efforts. Goku's personality never allows him to be the tough-as-nails drill sergeant, but his continued self-assuredness in the face of his students' obvious lack of confidence in him commands respect in a way I've never seen Goku portrayed before. Sadly, we don't get to see whether or not Goku's attempts at redirecting the boy's anger actually works on its own, because at that moment, Babidi contacts the population of Earth again. The kids were still asleep when this happened before, so they get to witness for the first time Buu eating and destroying a city. They are so furious at what they see that they reach out to Babidi to threaten him, cutting the transmission before Babidi can suss out where they are. Well, if Goku's response hadn't been enough, this is, and they are now willing to train under Goku. Goku begins by testing their ability to sync their ki while Super Saiyans. Trunks is slightly more powerful, so he has to lower his ki to match Goten's. After only a couple of tries, he gets it. So, so much for matching ki being the hard part of this technique. Before they can go any further, Babidi interrupts again to say that someone has ratted out Trunks. He knows now that Trunks lives in the Western Metropolis, so he and Buu are on their way there now to destroy it unless Trunks shows himself. Since Bluma's parents refuse to take shelter, they're now at risk. Goku's all, hey, Dragon Balls. But Bluma informs him the Dragon Radar is still at her home, and if it's destroyed, they can never find the Dragon Balls again because building a new one requires special parts. That's such a weirdly vague line. What parts? Who knows? They're just special. It's open-ended enough to feel really lazy, but also manage to potentially cover every base. I mean, if the entire world is ravaged and the temple is the only place left on Earth, maybe those special parts aren't here. Don't know how she'd know that, but why take the risk? Losing the Dragon Radar is definitely worth getting concerned about. But the hand-waved justification has to do a lot of heavy lifting, considering how many Dragon Radars there have been in the series already. What? Did you think this was a remotely unique item? Have you forgotten that the original Dragon Radar, the one Bluma uses to meet Goku at the beginning of the series, has not been seen since the Red Ribbon Army arc? That's a long time ago. To jog your memory, General Blue steals that radar from Goku, and it's last seen in the hands of Colonel Violet just before Goku storms Red Ribbon Army HQ. Unless Goku happened to recover it then, it has not been seen since. Its identical replacement was created by Turbo in Penguin Village out of a used airplane. I guess Goku was lucky airplanes happen to have those special parts. Okay, maybe we can make some logistical allowances for a levitating telekinetic genius baby. But even the Turbo Radar is not the only replacement Dragon Radar. At the beginning of the Piccolo arc, Goku snatches what is presumably the Turbo Radar from Bluma to chase after Kryuden's murderer. Since the others later on need to search for the Dragon Balls, the Turtle Sage asks Bluma to build another identical radar. She does, in half a day, seemingly using only what material she has available to her at Kame House, which I would guess would be aerobics tapes and sand. So if there is any precedent the series has established until now, it is that with the right people, Dragon Radars are ludicrously easy to make, no matter what items you have at your disposal. It's hard not to see this as something of an inconsistency, but I think it's more funny than it is a big deal. Again, there's already enough justification for not wanting to risk losing it. Honestly, the problem is just how frequently this kind of thing is happening. The last 2 Dragon Ball Dissection episodes have been full of Toriyama coming up with lame, logic-defying excuses to push plot points forward. This lame, logic-defying excuse is on the exact same page as Piccolo's "here's how the Dragon Ball wishes actually work, let's not even remind people of that wrong thing Dende said a few chapters earlier." So while on their own they might not be too bad, it is beginning to feel like death by 1,000 cuts. It doesn't even stop there. Goku decides to teleport to Buu to buy time while Trunks flies back to Capsule Corporation to retrieve the radar. It raises the question of why Goku doesn't simply teleport Trunks to Capsule Corporation and get the radar much more quickly. Again, another cut in a sea of lesions. The reasons why that could be a smarter move are pretty obvious. It's not even really worth exploring. If it bothers you, fine, but to me it doesn't even begin to register compared to Piccolo learning fusion and Gohan being perceived dead. The characters are forced to make a decision in a hurry and it works out well enough, so it's a reasonable decision in its context. Goku confronting Buu is narratively significant for a number of reasons, so it's more than worth the very minor logistical trade-off. But like I said, given how much sloppiness there is in this section, I can understand why some might find this particular instance grating just out of sheer attrition. So why do I find Goku's time with Buu to be so important? It's probably not the reason you're thinking. It's not what this scene is known for. It's the continued fantastic characterization of Goku that demonstrates how much he's evolved. He immediately picks up on the strained dynamic between Majin Buu and his handler and does his best to wedge it wide open. He questions the control Babidi has despite Buu being stronger. When they do fight, he compliments Buu's intelligence while Babidi has done nothing but insult it. And when Babidi doesn't want to wait on Goku's offer of a strong opponent, Goku laments the fun Majin Buu would be missing. Buu even gets in on it too. When Babidi threatens to seal him away if he doesn't fight Goku, Buu points out that if he does that, then Goku will easily kill Babidi. Majin Buu is beginning to see his own worth, that Babidi needs him more than Buu needs Babidi. And while Goku's intentions might not be the purest, he delivers the first clues that Buu responds positively to being treated well, which is going to pay off massively down the line. So yeah, I'd much rather have Goku here than at Capsule Corporation. But what this scene is known for is ultimately far less important. Super Saiyan 3. You might have noticed that I've never used a name to refer to the level beyond Super Saiyan that Gohan introduces against Cell. That's because the series never gives it a specific name until right now, nearly a year and a half after its debut. When Goku starts babbling about surpassing the level beyond surpassing Super Saiyan, his opponents are understandably confused. So that Goku can buy some more time, and so that Toriyama can have an excuse to explain this to the audience, Goku demonstrates each level of Super Saiyan. He starts with the original before transforming into what Gohan used, saying you could think of it as Super Saiyan 2. And I love how Toriyama has Babidi laugh at how little visible difference there is between them. That introduction leads into the very visually distinct Super Saiyan 3, and thus the nomenclature is born. Just slapping an English number onto the end seems so corny and tacky, but I can't hate it. While to me it makes it sound more like a car model than a naturally occurring transformation, it works in the sense that it's just something Goku pulls out of his butt for the sake of convenience. It doesn't really have to have any internal consistency or reason. But it just goes to show how arbitrary those classifications are when you realize they aren't even the first classifications that were ever used. Prior to this, an amazingly redundant anime comics version of the Trunks TV special was released, and it included a feature documenting all the currently existing Super Saiyan forms. It extrapolates the same information into a completely different direction because they include Super Saiyan forms that Goku's explanation here leaves out. Remember that prior to the Cell games, Vegeta and Trunks show off two increasingly bulky Super Saiyan forms. This guide refers to those as Super Saiyajin Dai Nidankai and Super Saiyajin Dai Sandankai, or Super Saiyan Grade 2 and Super Saiyan Grade 3. Note the lengthier terminology and the use of Japanese instead of English numbers. It continues on to refer to the everyday Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan live in as Super Saiyan Grade 4, which leads Gohan's transformation against Cell to be named Super Saiyan Grade 5. That grade naming scheme has stuck around in supplemental material in regards to grades 2 and 3, to distinguish the forms that would otherwise have no names. Daizenshu 2 uses the odd phrase full power Super Saiyan for this, and Goku's explanation here has completely overwritten Super Saiyan Grade 5 as Super Saiyan 2. So anyway, Super Saiyan 3. If Super Saiyan 2 is a subtle difference, Super Saiyan 3 is anything but. Toriyama throws in some screen tone to make it look as if Goku is glowing, his eyes have distinguished irises and pupils, his eyebrows disappear, and his hair grows to Raditz length, leading Gohan to arrive on the scene and suggest his dad cut his hair so an opponent can't grab it. Oh, that only matters when you're talking to a girl, okay, I get it. It's a gaudy and ridiculous design, but I can't say I don't like it. And that first full-page shot of it is gorgeous. Goku looks legitimately scary. So, Goku and Buu fight for a little while. Buu supposedly uses a technique that belongs to Vegeta. It's just spamming a bunch of generic ki blasts, so I could totally see something so bland and uncreative being a Vegeta move. But Vegeta never uses anything like that against Buu, so I don't really understand why Toriyama even writes that line. It's just kinda weird. He really should have used a more distinctive attack if he was trying to sell Buu as this quick learner. Anyway, Goku buys enough time and leaves. Babidi insults Buu for allowing Goku to escape, and after all of the abuse and Goku's remarks, Majin Buu has had enough. He lures Babidi close by offering to tell him a secret. He grabs him by the throat so he can't speak to seal Buu away, and then he punches Babidi's head off. Well, given what Babidi did to that tournament official, I'd say it's poetic justice. Like in the Cell arc, Dragon Ball is once again ditching the only villain with a clear motivation in favor of villains with more hedonistic impulses. To be fair, Babidi's motivation had more or less run its course by this point. His machinations against Piccolo and the boys are kind of petty afterthoughts. But I do think the servant killing the master trope plays out better here. We can certainly understand number 17's and number 18's disdain for Dr. Gero, but it hits much more effectively to see that hatred develop in the story itself. While I would have preferred more time spent with Buu and Babidi to better establish their dynamic, this is the best way for Babidi to go out. It is kind of weirdly redundant though, given that Piccolo seemingly finished him off earlier. Bringing him back immediately afterwards makes that moment seem rather pointless, especially given that that chapter was titled The End of the Man Behind the Curtain. I think both of those moments are good, but if Toriyama realized he needed this ending to further Buu's character development, I can forgive undoing that. This is fantastic. I think by this point we sympathize enough with Buu to be on his side over this, but that doesn't stop it from being genuinely horrific to see Babidi as this pitiable creature suffocating in panic, how drawn out the act is, and Buu's giddiness over having done it. Well, Buu is free of his chains now, and we will check back in with him next time. However, it doesn't currently seem like much has changed. Goku and Piccolo observe this from the temple. Now more than ever, they're convinced the kids have to master fusion, and by this point the story has quietly walked away from the whole "it'd take a week" claim. Here he's saying 2 days. By the time he leaves, he's claiming 1 day. And it's not as if much time has passed between those two statements. Goku now says, something, Super Saiyan 3 shouldn't be used by living people, it makes me tired, as though it somehow magically takes up the time I have left on Earth, don't think about it too hard, I only have about an hour left. Uranai Baba flies in with wonderful comedic timing to say, no, actually it's half an hour. So given that Goku spends under an hour training the kids, it's certainly for the best for him to pretend that 1 week thing never happened. Since they're still waiting for Trunks to return, Goku and Piccolo make small talk. They continue to refer to Gohan as if he is never coming back, ever. Man, Piccolo, he's sure gonna be sad to never see you again, because everyone knows death in Dragon Ball is permanent. And Piccolo brings out the big question, asking if Goku could have defeated Buu with Super Saiyan 3. Goku replies, probably not. But even that's not enough for Piccolo, who demands to know why he didn't even try. Goku explains that he doesn't belong in this world anymore, so it really should be the next generation taking responsibility and preparing for any threats that may come afterwards. Basically, Goku wants to plant the seeds for the future since he knows he won't always be around to protect it. This is a perfect direction. Given how much Goku has been thrust back into the spotlight, it's nice to see that Toriyama still has not forgotten that the impetus of this story arc was about the next generation. Goku is attempting to not take the spotlight. And like with his demeanor in training the kids, it demonstrates a huge amount of maturity in Goku. He's thinking about the big picture. He's taking proactive, long-term measures. It's a step of growth beyond his training of Gohan in the last arc. And yeah, he's prioritizing the safety of the Earth, which is what he's consistently done except when he's written badly. The overall effect is that Goku's time in the afterlife has made him a more thoughtful, more enlightened person. And I love all of that. It's great. Or at least it would be, except that Super Saiyan 3 ruins the entire premise. Again, Goku interacting with Majin Buu is what is important about that fight. It moves the plot. It utilizes the characters in engaging ways. It sets the elements in motion for Majin Buu's development. Super Saiyan 3 is not strictly necessary for any of that. It's not only a flashy waste of time, in more ways than one, it undermines everything Goku says here, and it makes him just as responsible for the Majin Buu threat as Vegeta. I maintain that I think Toriyama had not come up with the idea of Super Saiyan 3 when he drew Goku's and Vegeta's fight, and that's why I didn't discuss any of it then. But now it rears its ugly retroactive continuity head to do serious damage to a section of the story that already suffered from problems. See, when Goku settles in to fight with Vegeta, he declares that he has to finish it quickly so that Majin Buu won't get any energy from their fight. He's then disappointed to learn that they're evenly matched at Super Saiyan 2. Because of that, the fight drags on and Majin Buu is revived. Now that context is rewritten so that we know Goku had a Vegeta-demolishing super transformation in his back pocket he could have used to end the fight at any time and stop all of this from happening, but he simply chose not to. Later on, the best cop-out explanation Toriyama can give Goku is that, it's a time limit, maybe I needed it for later. It doesn't convince Vegeta, and it doesn't convince me. This is the critical moment. It would be pretty obvious even then that no later situation would require it more than this one. There'd certainly be no need to stall Majin Buu if there's no Majin Buu! Super Saiyan 3 even damages what I already consider the lukewarm justification of recklessness that Goku wants to test his skill against Vegeta just as much as Vegeta does. This renders Vegeta a bug to him, so how much fun could it possibly be for Goku to tie both of his hands behind his back just to make it sporting? Finally, the lack of Super Saiyan 3 against Vegeta damages Goku's sage-like wisdom in this scene. I agree with Goku that the next generation needs to be prepared to handle things, but the other half of his justification is the fact that Goku doesn't belong here, that he shouldn't be meddling in the affairs of the living. Well, that ship is already sailed. You're really going to come in here, screw everything up, and then go, not my problem. That's not a mentor. That's your crappy college friend who crashes on your couch for 5 weeks and drunkenly breaks a window. Introducing Super Saiyan 3 in this manner is a disaster. Maybe the suits wanted new action figures or video games or whatever, so they pushed Toriyama to introduce a new transformation for Goku, which is impossible to juggle with the expectation of fusion. It's a have your cake and eat it too moment, and it does not work at all. However, if it's worth anything, I do like how it pays off the kids don't respect Goku thread in a hilarious way. Following from this, Toriyama again demonstrates that comedy is where his real passions lay, and that's by introducing that the fusion technique is a dance. It's a goofy little dance with lots of silly leg shuffling and finger pointing and calling out "Fusion! Ha!" in time with the steps. And like with Great Saiyaman, none of the characters seems to think it's as cool as it actually is. Because it is. It's awesome, I love it. Of course Vegeta would refuse to do it because Vegeta hates fun. So after less than half an hour of practicing that, it's time for Goku to go. All of his friends gather. He comforts his wife by saying that while he may be leaving, at least she still has Goten. Nice sentiment. But spouses tend to fulfill different needs than children, at least I certainly hope so. But speaking of Goten, he realizes that he might never see his father again and breaks down all of his emotional walls, finally hugging the old man. And with a cheery, "I'll see you all again when you die," Goku heads out to leave things to the next generation. And I'm sure that idea is not going to be derailed at any point because passing the torch to the next generation is definitely a major theme here and not an excuse to try to pass off Goku not doing anything with Super Saiyan 3 as wisdom. Thanks for watching. Don't forget about the contest, win this awesome book. You can see that I have not placed a continued in Part 18 graphic, and that's because we're not continuing in Part 18. At least not next time. We've reached the summer of 1994, and that means new movie time. The year of Broly concludes with the final installment in the Broly movie trilogy, and Broly's not even technically in it. It's Super Warriors Crushed. I will be the one who wins. And you'll get to find out if you're the one who wins. See you there!